Hey everyone, we're so sorry about the technical issues with V, but she is here now and she's going to be live. So introducing V Roberts with Social Beach, how to explode your brand visibility with an integrated plan. Thank you, V.
Fabulous. What an intro. Let me just say that the Gremlins have officially been in the building today. I'm going to just quickly check on my main phone that all is well in terms of sound, because for some reason the Gremlins have come back. It's saying that I can't actually see what's going on behind the scenes, which is supposed to be one of the brilliant features of this platform. I'm glad to be here, so thank you very much to Lucy, Jade, Sam, Stu, and the team. It's been a phenomenal event, and they have by no means spared us in terms of brilliant content and speakers. I just want to make sure you can all hear me. So let's just see what's happening here. All right. So I've just gone on my phone. Let me just check. Can you all hear me okay? Because I can see nothing. All right. This is a bit about me. Let me just quickly check something. If I just type in and make sure. Making sure everybody, I can't see anything. No, nothing's come on my feed. So, all right, brilliant, better. Thank you. Right, I had a bit of an entrance, which hopefully means I'm going to give you some really valuable information that none of you have heard so far. I've really enjoyed Social Day so far. And as a woman who has built my own business on just £100, in the last 7+ years, I hope that you'll enjoy the tips that I'll be sharing with you today, because they are all about how you can actually build and explode your brand in terms of visibility online and offline, but mainly with the focus of online, with this being Social Day and digital marketing. Now, just a bit about me. I want to make sure that all is well. Fab. All right, so just a bit about me. In terms of what I actually do, I'm a brand and marketing consultant. I've been doing this now for 24+ years. And in terms of where I am at the moment, I'm running my own business. I have several hats that I wear. I'm a self-published author. I'm a mother of 4, as you can see on screen. And I also have a thriving business as a social media management company. So I've actually got my own little mini agency based here in the UK, where we look after customer profiles and online campaigns to help people to boost their visibility and also get more leads and obviously convert those leads into sales. So let's just see what's going on. I can see a screen here and a screen here. If there are any of the organizers watching, can you just message me so I know that I'm not going crazy? Because what I saw before didn't look like this. And I know that we've done the run through. So let's just make sure all is well before I get into giving all the nuggets and speaking to absolutely no one. Okay, right. So that's a bit about me. I am actually a brand and marketing coach and consultant who's working with brands at the moment that include external companies, as well as obviously smaller to medium enterprises. And what I want to cover off in this particular session with you are just basically some of the ways in which we at the moment use social media as a standalone piece, but how we should actually be including social media as part of a fully integrated plan so that we can actually explode our brand visibility online, but also ensure that we get best results when we are showing up. So on screen right now, you should be able to see my details, and I am going to make sure that I can be seen. Otherwise, I'm going to keep getting thrown off because I can see a prompt to my right and I can't see that I am actually showing up at all. All right, so my details are here. I2 Marketing on Twitter if you want to tweet me, and also Insight to Marketing on Instagram and Facebook. All right, so in our role as brand storytellers, and I don't want to teach anyone to suck eggs here, we have to remember that there are different ways in which we can actually share our brand story. It doesn't based on, your customer case studies, what your values are, why you your business, looking at some of the things in terms of your brand opinion, and whether you are a personal brand or a business brand, actually looking at ways in which you can share these things on different platforms. So on screen, you can see I've got different ideas, and in fact, there are many, some of which some of you may be using already. So offline, you can use things like events and exhibitions, market stalls, posters, print, papers, magazines, but you can also use, as we are here today, social media and tools like so and online training. There are lots of channels can actually set our brand story to an online. As I said at the start, it doesn't discount either. In terms of working on story, that has to come from you. So whether you are a personal brand where a lot of what you're sharing will be about you as the person you are and what makes you unique. If you are a company brand for your business, you might be showing up very much like the logo behind me as a logo, in which case you may be talking more on the sense of we and sharing content and information in a plural sense, either as a team or as individuals within a team. So as a brand storyteller, when you're online, this is quite fundamental, because I think a lot of us have got used to actually sharing content in a context of, when we're sharing our story particularly, just talking about who we are and why we started our business. So it's quite important that you consider how you're actually going to share your story and the ways in which you can share the story, because it doesn't just need to be on social media. As I said, people can read elements of your story through customer testimonials. People can hear about elements of your story through videos that you create and all kinds of content. So we're going to touch on some of that today. I haven't got that much time, but I will go through as much as I can. So think about the methods at the moment through which you're sharing your brand story, and just let me know via the comments if you can some of the ways in which you're actually sharing your brand story, because I do like to interact with those that are actually watching now. The next point I need to make, so thinking about your brand experience when you're online, it's important. Obviously, as part of a plan, it's important anyway, but your brand isn't just your logo. So you've got to be thinking about the experience and how your brand or your personality or your team's values and what you do as a team makes people feel. So think about the way in which you show up. Think about opportunities you give to interact with you and all of the different kind of brand assets that you have, and how those assets and how your behaviors actually cause people to feel and think, because your brand experience should be unique to you. If it's unique to you, then no one else can mimic it. And that probably is something that sounds very cheesy, but I have to say, a lot of us get overwhelmed with trying to, work out to show up, if it's okay to do a video, if it's okay to go live, if it's okay to publish that article, because we are so consumed with what everybody else is doing and whether or not we're looking at. So something I would say, experience and who you are or who your company is very, very, very important. Now, people, and that is that, if you are in business, it's very critical that you remember when you are talking online, if you use either a watch or a car, there are various very, very different ranges and brands of watches. And so online, or when you're speaking to people offline, what you want to remember is that in terms of your brand personality, in terms of your persona, and all the things that your brand can portray to people online, that will be unique to you. So if you think about brands like Casio and Rolex and different brands that you might even get from local producers are selling brands on the cheap as watches, they all serve one function, right? And that function is to tell us the time. Although now, with the development of seeing our brands and products that have come out that tell us how many steps we've taken for the day, brands and products that can share with us, how much calories eaten in a watch, I think my son's actually like a big thing for me, but for him, it's amazing. And, just different ways of exploring technology and understanding that if you, in terms of price, in terms of functionality, in terms of unique benefits, and I'm not saying that you are a watch brand, but instead of us consuming ourselves when we're online, when we're trying to be visible with what everyone else is doing, imagine that you are, a watch, and what type of watch brand you might be or who you might appeal to. An example that I gave very recently at a talk that I did was, when we go out, if we go to a market to buy fruit and vegetable or fresh produce, or even in a high street supermarket, there are many products that are very similar. And some of them are just different by ways of labeling. And so you have to understand as a brand that there are different things that are going to separate you when you're online and being visible from others. And this is why it's important to show up. And this is why it's important that this key part around what your brand is and who you represent is, in essence, the crux of what it is you're doing, because your branding and your marketing is aligned, whether it's digital marketing or not, whether you choose to do a leaflet, whether you choose to do a banner, whether you choose to host networking events, there has to be a link. Everything has to be aligned. So I'm assuming you've all got your logos and your kind of brand development ideas in place. And where I'm talking from today is a point of what you can do to actually ensure that your brand can be more visible and more interactive online through strategic and integrated marketing campaign planning. And that's something I've been doing for years now. In fact, it's what I was thrown into the deep end of doing when I was working with companies like BT, local government, public sector, charities, and so on. And when you think like a watch, as in the example that I've got on the slide in front of you, what you'll see is that there will be different benefits to users. So if you're thinking about your product, you're thinking a lot, or service, you're thinking along the lines of what makes you different, what the features are, and also around consumer behaviors and profiles, because I'm sure this has been covered already in different sessions across the last 3 days, but the people that you are going to interact with will need to find you on the right platforms. So if you're trying to sell a really expensive Rolex, or you're trying to sell, organic fruit and veg to people that would only pay, 20 pence for an apple rather than, 90 pence because it's organic, because it's, not covered in loads of cheap sprays, then you've got to make sure you're showing up where those people are that can afford to buy a Rolex watch, or where those people are that indeed can afford to buy organic produce, just as examples. So the other element of this is also about brand storytelling and really understanding that, as I said at the beginning, there are different ways that you can share your brand story. And again, this does form and should form part of your integrated marketing plan. Many of us do think about social media as, the be all and end all of our brand. But to be honest with you, we need to be thinking more of social media as one tactic. It is indeed just one tactic that we can use in our businesses to drive our business forward, to attract leads, and of course to generate revenue on the bottom line. So you need to be thinking about tools that you can use for brand storytelling. And I'm sure, again, some of these may have been mentioned already, but I will just say, and for those of you who are wanting to, talk about, your brand story, some of these tools you may never have heard of, but some of the tools that I personally use are WordSwag, StorySwag, which is a development of WordSwag, where you can now do like a carousel of images, either in story format, which is a longer, or a square. You can also use Canva as well, which I know is very popular. I always talk about Canva, and Over, which used to be called Easel, but is just as good. So all three of those I would recommend in terms of creating graphics and images. And when you're looking at your video content, there are a whole range of tools, whether you're using a Huawei phone, if I've pronounced that right, whether you're using an Android or even an iOS device, smartphone or tablet, there are different tools that you can use for brand storytelling. So again, you want to be thinking more along the lines of, what tools you can use to create video. So I use tools like Magisto, InShot, Ripple, which is RIPL. I also use Canva as well, because it's got an extra feature in there now where you can add in videos. There's quite a lot you can actually do on Canva now. And also you can use tools like Pixaloop and also Cut Story if you want to shorten really long videos. I think there's also one called even Splicer as well, or there's a one you can actually use to cut the story, which is Cut Story, but there's also one called Splicer. I'm almost sure of that. I'll tweet it on my page after this particular live. You can use highlights and your stories on profiles like Instagram, like Facebook and even on LinkedIn to feature particular elements of your brand story. So for example, if you have a video that's about you or your team or what you do or a customer win or something that a client said about you, or maybe even a challenge that you've had that you wanted to fix, or how you've overcome something, those are things you can share on your featured post on LinkedIn as part of your summary or your profile. It's something you could even share on your Instagram as an IGTV or on your main feed on Instagram, or even within your highlights on your Instagram page, which is simply just a story that's been published that you then actually post to highlight as a permanent feature of your page. Because as we know, stories only appear for 24 hours, okay? So unless you save the story, they're only on your page for 24 hours. So there are different ways of bringing your brand story into it, but the effective way that I actually ran, or grew my brand through using integrated planning was by bringing all these elements together. So I'm going to go into some of these a bit more now, and I will share with you. And as I said, if there are any questions, you can let me know. Now, I've posted in the right-hand column. Okay, no worries. Okay, so in terms of where you're bringing it all together, online and offline are two different things. Social media, of course, is part of the online approach. And what I have done in the past for particularly big campaigns like Christmas festivals, fashion campaigns, fashion shows, exhibitions, is actually pull everything together on a sheet and quite literally just listed out what I'm trying to achieve. So you set yourself a sales goal, or you have something that you're working towards in terms of a commercially aimed approach. It can be financial or non-financial. So you want to really be thinking about what your main goal is in terms of finances. I always look at the monetary side because it then gives me more of I'm quite results orientated. It gives me more of a goal to work towards. And when you've done that, you've worked out what your goal is, you then want to be looking at how you're going to achieve that. So you've got to go through different aspects. The targeting aspect is probably quite important because that's going to help you to determine who it is you're speaking to. Whether you are online or offline, it's important that you bring in all of the different tactics together, but that they are all working towards the same cause, the same type of target audience. Now, there may be different what you call touch points to speak to these people on, but what's important is that your tactics are reaching the audience that you want them to. So I would say a really good starting point, once you've worked out what your actual aims and objectives are, is to look at who it is you actually want to target and why you're targeting them, and what the opportunities might be for you to actually have a really successful campaign, because then you can map out, using a strategy, some of the ways that you can reach that audience, either on a specific budget, or if you've got a really huge campaign budget, how you can actually map it out using specific tasks that are actually aimed at, generating 1 million or whatever your sales goal is. So think through what your goals are, understand who your audience are, and then start looking at things like your tactics and your messaging, right? Now, you should already be aware of where your company position is and all the gaps in. Some of these things I'm mentioning now are quite important. So I've mentioned the importance of telling your brand story. I've mentioned the importance of having a brand experience that's unique to you and really understanding what your brand strengths are, whether you are a personal brand or a business brand, in terms of a logo or a real person, a real face, right? You want to humanize your brand as much as possible. But some of the ways that you can actually use social media and digital to actually be part of your integrated plan are to use things like, as I've said just now, offline, as well as video, as well as the audio, which I'm going to talk about now. But also I mentioned as well around how you can actually use social media, just generally. Now, audio fits into social media. It can fit into email marketing. It can also fit into video, and I'll explain how in a moment. So within your integrated plan, aside from looking at the traditional methods of social media, which, the traditional methods of marketing, which might include things like, leaflets, business cards, going to an event and having a banner or a stand, having someone go out and do like sales calls for you. You really want to be thinking about how you're going to integrate the social media aspect so that your brand and the digital aspect of your brand is part of the campaign. So when you look at storytellers like John Lewis, for example, or IKEA, or even think of another one that's quite recent, Dove's really quite good as well. They use different platforms, don't they, to actually speak to their audience. They know, for example, that they're targeting women of a certain age group, if it's Dove. So they will do things like magazine advertisements in, national magazines. They will do PR campaigns. They will do things like competitions. And then, of course, you'll see the lovely, packaging with the information about their offers on as well. but they'll also use things like video. So if you're not aware of how to integrate your plan, what you want to be doing is bringing everything together in the way that some of the bigger brands do. And as I said, I think a lot of us just concentrate on social media. So what you really want to be aware of is how social media can be a part of a bigger plan. Okay, so with audio, I've just mentioned few tools that you can for audio. If you're going to be using audio beyond kind of the traditional podcasting, and may I just also add in direct messaging via audio is quite cool. I've sent quite a few LinkedIn personalized voice notes now, as well as via Instagram too. But when we're talking about audio in terms of a campaign, you might be looking at ways to use platforms like SoundCloud and Stitcher and Anchor FM. And even, having tools like Vimeo and YouTube for hosting audio, but actually using a video. So you would have a video file, but behind it, if it's just a static image or something that's moving, is a sound, okay? And many people don't explore these kinds of options as alternatives, but can include beyond your traditional methods of marketing that you may already be using. So audio is really brilliant, and also making sure that you're on things like Spotify, iTunes, etc., is a way to ensure that your campaign does include those platforms. Okay. With offline, when you're looking at how you can integrate it, again, you want to be thinking how to combine everything. So if you've got a print advertisement, again, what you want to be doing is including your brand, including your logo, making sure that you've got a compelling message, but then making sure that that is actually integrated to your socials. So again, you can look at brands like Metro Newspaper as an example, where it's a UK-based newspaper. You can look at brands like DFS, that just came to mind as a sofa brand. They make household furnishings here in the UK. And they will actually have a newspaper ad that goes out at the same time as a TV ad going out, at the same time as a social media campaign going out, and it all integrates. So in that way, they're able to explode their brand visibility because you see them in a number of touch points. Now, gurus will tell us that, it's between 7 to 9 different touch points that people will have before they actually make a decision. I kind of disagree with that, and I'll share why via my newsletter this week. But what I do want to say is that when you are looking at integrating your plan, don't just look at online. And I'm talking about even if you have a well-established business that is very much, using social media really well, you probably will find that you have an element of offline as well that you will at some point need. So business cards, although I don't print many business cards nowadays, I use LinkedIn or a QR code as an alternative. You've got newspapers, you've got brochures that you can use. Bus bats and outdoor advertising, which I've used in the past for large campaigns where I've got really big budget. But you've also got things like network and even AV. So having a simple laptop or screen at an event where you've got a presentation on Loop, as an example, is a great way to boost your brand visibility, but also to direct people from the event or from the leaflet or from the newspaper ad onto your socials. So it's really about cross-platform advertising and cross-platform promotions, so you can make lots of people in a very strategic way. And again, this should be part of your integrated plan. You're looking at your objectives, you're then looking through what your target audience, who they are, what their feelings are, where they're going to be in terms of platforms, so that you can combine offline and online tactics together. Now, you also want to make sure that you have a brand voice. And one of the ways in me starting my business at just £100 that I actually built my brand voice was by making sure that I basically exhausted lots of channels of communication. So I used media and PR, I used press releases, and I always had in my notes to editor and also within the actual article itself, information where people could access social media content, information where people could access my brand and details about who I am, my profile, etc. Online, so via my website. And I quite often looked at things like HARO, which is help a reporter out, or even the hashtag journo requests, which I would say has kind of been watered down a little bit, but they have now got, as a spin-off from that, different types of groups on Facebook where you can actually get information to help you build your brand with opportunities that come up through media and press. So you've got different opportunities that you can explore in terms of integrating a plan that includes media and PR. You can also present yourself as a thought leader in terms of sharing blogs, guest writing, and even doing live Q&As, which I do every week live on the Insight to Marketing Instagram page on Wednesdays at 12:15 p.m. So positioning yourself as a thought leader will ensure that your brand voice is communicated really well. Again, if that's part of your plan alongside the traditional stuff, you're going to, have a really good outcome there. And then with brand authority, so doing things like speaking at events online, or going out and doing seminars, or hosting your own summit, and even doing things like, having interviews, whether they are professional ones with media or done in collaboration with people, is a really good way to actually get your brand out there. Now, I also want to mention, you need to remember that even if you're sending out emails, there are many ways that you can actually email people and still promote your socials. Now, I have an active email list, a growing subscriber list. And if you want to be on my email list, simply tweet me at I2Marketing, which is I, the number 2 and marketing, or you can email me via the email address you see on screen right now. And what I do is, if I send out an email, whether it's a scheduled one or a live one, I will actually then make sure I always include my follow buttons so people can connect with me on social media, and my social share buttons. Again, it helps me to increase my visibility because people can see how they can connect with me. Something that I very recently did as an afterthought, but I was still getting a lot of shares anyway, is I included a little note as well within my emails that says to people, if you've received this because it's been shared with you, you can sign up here. And then it directs them to where they can sign up. Now, depending on what platform you use, whether it's MailChimp, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Lead Pages, and I'm not endorsing these, by the way, you will be able to actually create, landing pages or lead pages or sign up pages where people can connect with you. What's important is that you are clear on how you're actually driving people to your pages so that they can connect with you and stay connected. So when you think about your email marketing, don't think about it as just sending out one email. Think about the next step. When they've read your email, what is it you want them to do? When they've spotted your social media post embedded in your email, what is it you want them to do? When they've watched your video embedded in your email, what is it you want them to do? Now, there's a 20-minute or so training, absolutely free, on my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/insight to marketing. And that channel has over 120 different videos all about the beauty of social media, branding, and marketing, which are my 3 content themes as an expert that I will share tips with on a regular basis. I post a video every week, and there is in fact a video on there that you can access about email and how you can integrate it with your social media. So I guess in wrapping up, what I want to share with you is that when you are building a brand, if you are trying to have, a full grip of what you're doing, do not just think about it as one aspect of, the bigger picture, what I call the bigger picture. A lot of people will just focus on their brand and making everything look aesthetically pleasing on the eye. Some will just think about, how they can actually show up in terms of making sure they're visible everywhere. But what's key is that you combine everything together, that you've got an integrated plan, and that you are clear on, yes, okay, this is how my brand is going to look visually with an identity, but these are the platforms on which I'm going to share my brand story, I'm going to promote my business, I'm going to generate leads, I'm going to make sure that I've got, different touch points, just thinking about things like your email marketing, your receipts, your invoices, your website, any call to action that you ever have, your bio, basic things are opportunities for you to actually include that as part of a regular task that you update. So your cover photo on your Facebook, your LinkedIn, when you're doing your posts on Instagram, updating your bio occasionally, adding in some emojis, having a call to action that directs people to where they can find you next. Because what you want is a running order of different activities that people can connect with you on and stay connected. Which actually leads me nicely onto the finishing part of my session, which is how you can stay connected with me. On screen, you can see right here my details. My email is info@insighttomarketing.com. And of course, my text number is there if you'd like to text me. And you can also connect with me via most social media platforms under #AskI2M. And I'm quite busy because obviously I do mentoring with NatWest and Virgin Business Startup and the Sherry Blair Foundation. But one of the things that I'm very keen on is ensuring that I can help, which is why I would encourage you, if you like my tips, short and sweet, to have a look at the YouTube channel so that you can actually check out some of my videos around how to build a brand, how to sustain a brand, how to promote your brand effectively, and lots of content on there around offline and online marketing techniques. I hope you've enjoyed the session today. It's been a whistle-stop tour, but remember, your planning should not just be looking at social media alone, unless, of course, you're a huge brand that's already well established with an online community. What's key is that you have some clear objectives, you have a clear audience or audience types that you want to target, And then you can understand the best methods and tactics based on your budget and resources available to actually attract. Now, I run a 5-day coaching program, which is just £27. Within that coaching program, what I do with small business owners is I actually offer you the opportunity to work with me online in a space which is private, where you can ask me questions. We can review your brand and marketing and actually look at how you're showing up and ways to improve things like your social media, your messaging, and even how to find audience types online that you are trying to appeal to. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, my next session comes up on the 21st of September. It runs for 5 days until the 25th of September. And if you want to find out more about that, as I said, tweet me. I'm on i2 Marketing, but everywhere else you can connect with me via Insight to Marketing or via the hashtag, which is Ask I2M. Thanks very much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Hey, V, how are you?
Howdy.
Thank you so much for your session. Everyone on our app absolutely loved it. Once again, sorry that you got in a bit late, but everyone is super happy with your presentation. In the app, if you could just head on there and answer any question that anyone has for you, that'd be great. So thank you so much. And up next, we have Ian Randolph. The influence economy is coming.